Welcome back to Chronicles of Rough. I've never done an intro quite like this before. We've got an awesome stage today, as you can tell by the name on the wall, and I'm going to try and pronounce it right, even though Greg and I have talked many times. Inozetek headquarters in the Los Angeles area. We are here with, well, I'll let him introduce himself. This guy. Tell me your name and tell me what we're doing today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the intro, Brent. My name's Greg English. I'm the sales director at Inozetek, and yes, we are at the Inozetek training facility here in Los Angeles, and obviously this is the 997 RWB. So, but yeah, thanks for having me on here, man.
Sweet. I will tell everybody so that we don't pretend like I'm perfect. We actually did this once a week ago and I deleted it, so it's my fault. Yeah. Greg has been so awesome to jump back on and let us do this again. So one major difference from last time to this time is we've got the Land Cruiser 100 this time. Last time I think we had a Panda,
Liberty Walk NSX.
I'm sorry, yeah, Liberty Walk NSX. That's right. So a little bit of a change, but you all know I'm a Toyota guy, so I'd rather see Toyotas anyway.
My man. Same here. Same here.
Sweet. Well, Greg, I guess some background and we'll kind of jump into it. Greg and I met at SEMA this year. We are both in the Raw Welt world, I guess, the fan club, no, the owners club. And Greg and I were talking at SEMA where he had this, the first, I believe, 997 RWB that was built outside of Japan. And I think also I could add to that, I believe this is the first RWB officially built not by Nakai-san. So let's kind of jump into that, and maybe Greg can fact check me a little bit on this and tell me how far off I am.
Well, dude, honestly, I would expect you to probably fact check me because I'm my knowledge is still, I'm still gaining more and more knowledge each day about just everything RWB. But from what I know, this is definitely the first RWB 997 in the US. I've also been told since SEMA that it's the first outside of Japan, which I think that's just awesome. That's a cool little bonus there. And yeah, it was the first. And this, again, I'm not sure if this is for all RWBs, but it's definitely the first 997 RWB that hasn't been built by Nakai himself. So, and I mean, maybe you can correct me, but I think all the air cooleds have been built by him, correct?
Yeah. So the way it's supposed to be, and people could claim yours would be, in my opinion, the first one sanctioned by Nakai to be built not by him. So when I say that, I mean all air cooleds and even all of the 997s up until now have been built by Nakai-san. He requires, that's kind of the requirement, is you can't just order a kit. You had to actually have him fly out or take it to RWB HQ to have it built. Going forward, Toshi-san, global director RWB, has told me that, and you know this, the RWB 997 kits, water-cooled cars, will be available to be purchased, shipped, and installed, much like a Pandem or a Liberty Walk kit. But the air-cooled cars going forward will continue to only be built by Nakai, meaning, from what I know, when Nakai stops building them, there will not be any more water or air-cooled. They will not offer that as something people can buy even when Nakai retires.
Crazy. Well, get them while they last. So I mean, definitely, because that day where he stops making them for whatever reason, it's gonna be wild.
Yeah,
people will own a piece of history.
Yeah, but obviously, even these 997s still hand pulled, amazing kits built by Nakai, sent out, right? Oh, yeah. Prepped. What's kind of the story on yours? Why 997 and maybe not the older air cooled cars? Like, what were you looking for, and kind of how did you decide to do this, and what was the process to get this?
All right, so it's an interesting one, and it kind of came out of left field. It wasn't something that was planned, as I'm sure a lot of other RWB builds are really vetted out, thought of way in advance. This one was like it was kind of a spur of the moment decision. So before this, I had a Viper, and I loved my Dodge Viper. It was a great car. Was lacking on a lot of features and amenities. It was just a pure driver's car, and I would take that out to a lot of local rallies, meets, and things like that. But it was time to change things up because I'd had that car for about 2 years, and SEMA was about 5 to 6 months away. And so I was kind of thinking, what am I going to do for SEMA? I don't really know. I'm kind of done with the Viper, and what's that next platform going to be? And I was looking at an AMG GT as my next car. My friends over at Impressive Wrap, they have an amazing wide body AMG GT that's kind of famous out here in SoCal. And I've driven the car on a few occasions, and I was in love. I'm like, this is the car. But, at the same time, it's not really the AMG GT doesn't have a lot of offerings, I would say, out and available in the aftermarket scene that are going to build or generate a lot of hype. It's a really good car. It's a great car, but it's, a lot of the kits and things have been done before. And again, Impressive has one of the sickest ones out here in SoCal, so I can't really compete with that. So I'm like, okay, went out to lunch with a friend one day, and he kind of, he had asked me if I had been paying attention or following closely with the RWB 997 development. And I said, no, the last I'd seen of it was about a year ago. And I'd seen Nakai rolling in a cabriolet that just had some extended fenders, some fender flares on it. And I was like, okay, that was kind of cool, but I felt like it was lacking a little bit. It needed more time to really turn into something that I felt represented the RWB name. So I kind of stopped following it, but I had always wanted an RWB. I mean, since like 10 years ago, seeing them rolling around, I mean, they definitely captivated my mind. And I think along with everybody else too, who follows the brand, they just look so crazy. Nothing like them on the street. So always wanted one. And yeah, when he showed me a photo of this white one in Japan with a GT wing and just cruising down the highway, I was like, oh, damn, that looks sick. And so we just kind of got to talking, and he was like, he knew Long over at LTMW. I didn't really know him at that time, but he was like, I can talk to my buddy Long over at LT and see if we can get the kit in time for SEMA. Are you down? And I'm like, well, let me sell this Viper and see if I can find a 997. So that just, I don't know. I was kind of, even at that point, I was kind of thinking like, this is just like I'm just dreaming, I don't think this can all come together that fast. And, I thought Nakai had to build every single car, and I'm like, how am I going to get him out here in time to build a car for SEMA? Like, it just didn't seem realistic. Yeah. But then I got a phone call, and my friend said, hey, Long says he can get the kit, and Nakai is okay with LTMW building the car. And so I'm like, okay. So I posted my Viper for sale a week later, sold it. And basically over the next month, I scoured the web for a 997, found the car, and then a month later the kit arrived. And as you know, I mean, just one thing led to another, and here we are. But it was quite a process, and like I said, it was a spur of the moment thing that just happened over the course of a lunch, just a conversation. Yeah. So
you said that you started like in June, is that right? Like end of June or something is when you were deciding to do this, and then SEMA is the first week of November, right?
Exactly. Yeah. First week in November, and the conversation started literally right at the end of June. And I think by the end of July, I had sold the Viper, and I want to say June, July, August. Yeah. I think sometime in September, the kit finally arrived. So, but yeah. And I think the actual assembly of everything happened within the last like 3.5 weeks leading up to SEMA. So it's a true SEMA build.
Wow. So, except for higher quality, because I've seen this in person. So it's better than a true SEMA build.
Well, thank you. And we definitely tried to do our best, because with it being the first, we wanted to, like I said, we wanted to build hype. We wanted something that was going to represent our product, which is the wrap, in the best way possible. So we had to go above and beyond for this. But just circling back really quick, you did ask me why the 997. And like I said, I go to rallies. I'm, going to a lot of company events. I go visit clients once in a while, not always in the race car, but a lot of times I go out there because it's a marketing tool in many ways. And so I trust me, I want an air-cooled Porsche. I want a 993 so bad, but for what I do, I need a car with a few more creature comforts, a few more amenities. If I have to take it from here to Vegas on a rally, things like that. So that's why I think the 997 was the perfect platform. But I do see myself having a 993 or something down the line as maybe a second or third option.
Very cool. And this one's on air, right?
This one is on air, which is a love-hate thing, as I mentioned to you. Recently, it's had some ups and downs, literally.
Yeah, I've seen it on a couple flatbeds on Instagram.
Dude, it's been brutal. I think since our last recording that we did, the air suspension went out 2 days after we shot that video, and then I had to flatbed it back to my friend, and he fixed it within 20 minutes. It was just another line that popped off. Because I guess the struts keep somehow rotating, and then the lines start rubbing the wheels, and then it's just, it needs a little bit more babying. So talking about needing a car that's reliable to go on all these trips and stuff right now, it hasn't proven to be just yet, but I think I'll swap it out for some coilovers at some point.
Yeah. So. And this is really a great media vehicle for you too. I mean, obviously, as you said, you're going to meetings, Inozetek. Is it? Tell me the name, because I keep saying it wrong. How do you say it? Say the name of your company.
Yeah, so I pronounce it, and we pronounce it Inozetek.
Inozetek.
Inozetek is fine as well. So
we're calling it the right name. We're going to call it the right thing. If you're watching this, call it by the right name. Just learn it the right way. They're not Porsche. They're Porsches. It's not Inozetek. It's Inozetek.
Yes.
Okay. There we go. So do it that way. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's part of the branding. It's part of the business. Was there ever a time that you thought, I'm going to paint this car, or was it always going to be wrapped? As you answer this, tell me about the color and the wrap and stuff too.
Yeah, so definitely, I think if I could go back, I would prefer to just paint the car and then wrap it. But just obviously because we're a vinyl manufacturer, we have to wrap the cars to represent the product. But I wanted to paint it, but we just didn't have enough time. So underneath, it's still a silver 911, and the fenders are just, mildly prepped, but they're mostly still just the white, I guess, fiberglass or whatever that they are when they come from Nakai himself. So once, I think maybe after we take this wrap off and before we rewrap it in a new color, probably for SEMA or something, I might go ahead and just paint the whole car so that, the film adheres better. Although we wrapped over the bare panels, and it so far so good. As long as the panels are prepped well enough, the film adheres like no issue, no problem. But I still prefer to have it, stuck on clear coat, because it'll just the long term.
Yeah.
But this color is our Supergloss Era green, and it's inspired by Audi's Hell Green, which was a color that I saw in an R8 online, and I was like, okay, I gotta have it. It was originally going to be some like pistachio, almost like a lighter green. Not, I guess I was going to say not like this, but I'll send you photos later of what the initial render was. But yeah, a much lighter green. But then when I saw this, I changed my plans up right away. I was like, no, I think this color is going to be much more hype and on trend. So far so good. People love the color. It's awesome. Out of all the new SEMA releases, besides Celestial Unicorn, it's been the best seller. So wow. I think the car had a big thing to do with that too.
Yeah, and it definitely did. This car got a lot of hype at SEMA. How did it do at SEMA? You saw more than me. I saw like the last day of SEMA. I think I came to your booth and we talked like the last 10 minutes before SEMA ended. Like how did it go for you at SEMA with this car?
Oh, this car did wonders at SEMA, man. I like before we even started the build, it was kind of like this discussion, like, is it going to build a lot of hype? Is it going to be cool? Are people going to really like the RWB 997? Because, I'm sure you've seen and I've seen, but the comments online, it seems like people are still feeling out the platform. They're unsure about it. It doesn't look it definitely doesn't look as wild as some of the air-cooled ones that Nakai has had more time to develop, with little winglets and stuff going up the rear fenders and all that stuff. But it was a huge surprise just to see people freaking out about the car, like finally seeing one in person and seeing all the little details. And then just once I started posting it online, just seeing how everything was going viral. I mean, I think I mentioned to you recently, like Churn hit me up from Australia, and he hit me up and he was like, dude, your car got 26,000 likes on my Instagram page.
That's insane.
I know. And I think that guy Sven hit me up and he was like, hey, somebody wants to buy your car on Facebook. And he was like, I was getting tagged from all these different places. So, I mean, I think people like it.
Yeah.
And it really, I mean, I saw this couple comments, but it makes me really happy. People were saying that they think it's like the best one so far, or one of the cleanest 997s they've ever seen. So I think, I think this kit is developing into something pretty amazing, honestly. And I'm excited to see where Nakai takes it from here, how he starts adding little touches, and maybe I can build a version 2 with a couple new pieces once they're out.
Yeah, you can totally buy new parts as they come along. I've even, on my kit, I ordered it just a basic kit because I didn't really know what I wanted, but I wanted to get into line. And so after I had ordered the kit, then I went back and ordered, like, mine has the skirts like yours, but then it's got another set of skirts I ordered like 6 months later that go below those skirts.
Nice.
So, like,
skirt on a skirt.
Yeah. So they've got stuff like that that'll come out, and obviously in your industry and what you do, it'll probably be really easy for you to be able to just build onto this, keep changing colors and like matching things. So it'll be a really nice platform for you to build on and develop. And what wing? Because obviously that's not a raw welt wing. You added the wing, right? What is it?
No, that wing came from Nakai.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's...
Yeah, it came, dude, that's the thing. You're like probably the second or third person who's mentioned that, like, oh, that's not an RWB wing. So yeah, no, it definitely came in the box. It came from Nakai. If you look at the white, there's a white RWB 997, the one that made me pull the trigger and move forward with this. That one is rocking the same wing.
Okay.
So yeah, dry carbon stands, and they kind of angle forward a little bit.
Yeah, they look really good.
Yep.
How do you remember how expensive it was to ship your kit when you did it? Because you probably had to do an air shipping too, right?
Yeah. Shoot, dude. Honestly, it was definitely a few thousand, but I don't recall. Honestly. Yeah. It was expensive though. It wasn't cheap. I mean, with the cost of air freight nowadays, especially from Asia, it's expensive.
Yeah, that's been a big thing people don't understand. A lot of the people, even people that are ahead of me in line right now to get their cars built, do not have kits yet because air shipping is so expensive. Mm-hmm. And so Nakai-san hasn't been shipping all of the kits because the shipping is so high. Mine, the only reason I have mine already, and I've had mine for maybe 5 or 6 months now. The only reason I have mine is because we bought a car from Japan and we shipped it with the car from Japan. So we just put them all in the same container so that I wouldn't have to double dip and ship it again. So kind of two birds with one stone. Yeah. Yeah.
Smart. But I did get notice yesterday. My colleague told me, just off topic, air freight is coming down slightly. So hopefully that's a sign that things are getting back to some normalcy. So Sweet. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's a great sign. So I guess, the wing is a RWB wing. Tell me what's not from RWB. Like, what else did you have to decide on, and how did you get it here within 6 months? Because I know I ordered, and this, since you and I talked last March, I ordered the bases to put the seats in my car, like the Brid low max, like seat bases. I ordered them last March and they showed up last week.
Damn. Hold on. For last March?
Yeah, almost March a year. Almost a year to get seat bases. So I'm curious.
That's wild.
What is not from so so I'm curious what is not from RWB, and kind of what was the process of getting those parts for the car?
Yeah, so the rest of the car was actually fairly simple to get, to put together, all things considered. I mean, besides the kit, obviously the whole kit's RWB, like the lip, the canards, the fenders, the wing, the rear bumper, the skirts. But everything else was either sourced locally or shipped from the East Coast, which made it pretty simple. So, like the headlights are Spider Auto. Those they're the 991 style, so they really helped to modernize the car. That was a local. Spider Auto is literally 30 minutes away, so we were able to get it from them. These turn signal lights, those are from Depot, and again, that was just ordered from a local guy off of eBay. Tail lights are also Spider Auto. They're the 997.2 style, so they have the LEDs. I found the very last set in the East Coast. I think it was through Vivid Racing, so I was so happy to find the last set, because Spider couldn't get anything, unfortunately, due to everything being back ordered.
Sure.
The wheels were picked up in San Diego, just some BBS RS2s. They came off of a 993. They were really just OEM spec, no lip. It was just a really nice, conservative, easy setup. And obviously we threw the kitchen sink at the wheels and just had to really rebuilt them. I think I told you last time, rebuilt them twice.
Yeah, you said that the measurements, it was kind of like a guess and check on it, because until the car's together and everything else, right? You had to kind of...
Yeah, we thought we had the right measurements and everything was Gucci, and then Long came over with the wheels one afternoon, dropped them off, and we popped them on the vehicle, and it poked about an inch and a half.
Oh, man.
To 2 inches. And we were like, no, we can't do this. That's too wide. So then literally, I think 3 days before SEMA, 3 or 4 days before SEMA, we had to send the wheels back and have them rebuilt again. And then that was the most stressful part of the whole thing. I was getting super nervous. I'm like, okay, if these wheels, if they come back 2 days before SEMA and they don't fit again, like, what are we going to do, guys? Like, is this car going to SEMA? And so thankfully they came back and it was a perfect fit. So thank you.
Well, you got lucky.
Thank you to Long at LTMW. He saved the day on that one. But and then I think we have an Armatrix exhaust out back. That was again really easy. 2 days they shipped it to us, and then Studio RSR roll cage inside. They're also local. I tried to really lean on a lot of local people just to help get the build going. Yeah. Just because again everything was so tricky. Anytime you had to involve shipping into anything, it's a pain in the butt. So
well, you definitely live in the best place ever for that kind of a project. I do not.
Definitely. I know, man. I know. It's when living in LA, Southern California especially, it's just you have access to so many parts and used parts, new parts. I mean, it's a great hub for everything cars. So
yeah. I mean, I think growing up, it was, I want to live in LA or San Diego so I can skateboard and stuff and be in like a band all the time. Like that's what we all wanted to do. And then as you got older and bought cars and stuff, it's like, actually, I want to live in LA for car scene. And like, you guys have everything and it's really cool down there. So, up here we do have local shops. I've got like Life Motorsports up here. They've got the world's, I believe, fastest time attack R35 GTR. They even like beat HKS in a head-to-head battle with HKS. They beat them.
Sick. That's
so
crazy.
we do have some really great talent out here, but it's definitely not as big of a pool as what you've got down there as far as parts, manufacturers. You've got so many people who can fabricate and just create amazing things, right? I mean, both.
Yeah.
Gunther Works is down there. Singer in California. Some of the greatest vehicle producers on the planet have come out of California. So it's just such a cool place.
I mean, I definitely feel very lucky living out here. But it's anytime I think about moving out of LA, because obviously you can tell with the 100 series behind me, I love off-roading and getting outdoors too and getting out in nature. And So anytime I think like, man, I want to go move to the mountains, or because I just love that quiet, chill quality of life. But then I'm just like, I take this thing out on a weekend and there's, all the liveliness in town with all the car events. I'm like, damn, I can't leave yet. I wish I could literally live in two places at once. So I want to live in the mountains and in the city at the same time.
Well, we just got to get cabins. That's why you get a cabin in Tahoe and then live in LA.
Basically, I know. I've got a friend out here who's trying to convince me to get a cabin up in, I'm already forgetting the place. Some mountain town like 2 hours from here. And I'm like, I was talking to the wifey recently. I'm like, you want to do it? Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have a cabin, but it's like 6 hours away. So it's not as accessible. If you're going to have a cabin, you need it to be like an hour away, 2 hours away. But
yeah, a reasonable amount of time. So
yeah, what's been kind of your favorite part of having this car so far? Like, how does it compare to what what were you hoping to get out of this car? What did you get? And kind of like, what are you excited about versus what would you change? Is that too loaded?
All right. So, no, that's a perfect question. So what have I liked about the car? Well, so I'll just go back a little bit. What I really, really loved about my Viper and what I wanted to get out of the next car was just that uniqueness. Out here in LA, one of the biggest problems, it's not even really a problem. I mean, you go to a meet and McLaren, 720s are everywhere. 458s, 488s, F8s, even Sennas, like just all these really crazy cars. They're almost like a dime a dozen. There's so many of them out here. So it's hard to, have something that stands out. So you either have to throw the kitchen sink at it and build it up into being, a one of one, or you just kind of blend in. That's just how it goes. What I liked about owning my Viper was I'd roll in with this Nardo gray slammed Viper with, front aero, and it was a Gen 3 Viper, and it was a convertible, but it just, it got a lot of attention. I had it kind of JDM inspired too, with yellow fogs and APR carbon, and it was really cool. I liked it. And it got attention. People flocked around the car, and, it was fun. And so once I bought the 911 in stock form, it just blended in. I loved the car in so many ways, but I'm like, man, it's such a sleeper. Nobody notices it. It's just another 911. And so I needed to really just build it up into being a monster, or at least looking like one. And I think definitely after the build came together, I feel like I achieved that. Now when I take this thing out, whatever attention I thought the Viper got, this thing surpasses it tenfold. And it's, again, great for marketing because we're trying to market a product on it. But I guess the coolest thing is just, the reactions people have towards it. I think that's been one of the sickest things of owning this car is it looks like nothing else out on the road. And whether you love it or hate it, I pull up to a local Cars and Coffee, and I've got just tons of people surrounding the car taking pictures of it. I mean, sometimes I'm pulling into a lot and I can't even get through the amount of photographers. Like, I have to stop and let them all shoot the car and then go find a parking spot. So that's been really cool.
Yeah.
And it's just every time I drive it, it's an event. It feels so raw. And I guess with just having the cage and the width and the exhaust, I want the power that my Viper used to have. So that's, so some future plans might, involve bumping up the power, but just overall, it really feels like I'm driving a race car. And it makes just even the local drive, if I do want to take it to the grocery store or something, it makes that trip super, super exciting.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool again that it's such a like my car, and I could probably talk you out of an air cooled pretty quick, maybe.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Like my car runs great, but like I'll pull up to a stop sign and then like a cloud of oil smoke like drafts through the car. And I'm a Targa, so the top's open, right? But it's just how they are. It's like, is my car supposed to smoke this much? Right? Oh yeah, that's just how these cars are, and it's like loud and stinky.
It's a normal.
Yeah.
It's normal process.
You know, and then you're like hundreds of thousands of dollars into these cars, and you're just like, what am I into? Like, what am I getting myself into driving this thing that's like, you know, my A86 ran cleaner.
Okay.
You know?
I want an 8.6 so bad, dude.
I've had 8 of them. So
wow. Okay. Well, I'm talking to you when I want to pull the trigger on one, but I want one with an S2000 engine in it. That's always been like the dream, one of my dream cars.
That's the dream build for sure. And it's funny because I feel like they're just barely getting cool. The whole time I had bought A86s, this is like 10, 15 years ago till now. And it was always like, why would you want that car? Why do you have that car? Why would you make that your project? And I think I had 4 coupes and 4 hatches. I think it's a pretty even split, and no one ever understood it. And then maybe 2 years ago, all of a sudden they're like 20, 30 grand and everybody likes them. I don't understand it.
It's ridiculous. Oh yeah. I mean, you definitely hit the nail on the head. I used to try to convince my girlfriend at the time, like, oh, I want to get this 8.6. And it went right over the head. It was like, why do you want that? Why do you want that 1987 Toyota Corolla with 100,000 miles on it? Like, that looks like a total beater. Yeah. I'm like, no, you don't see you don't see it.
Yeah. Like the balance, how they look. In fact, I like driving the coupes and I like looking at the coupes better than the hatches. I get why the hatches are more sought after, especially with like their TV, you know, initial D and everything else. But the coupes actually drive a lot better. They're tighter, and then you have the rear window a lot closer, so it's easier to kind of get a feel for where you're at and how you're driving them and stuff. But yeah, when
so light, dude, light cars, it's crazy.
Well, when that day comes, I will be here for you to help coach you. Talk to me about the process. I thought it was really interesting, the process of what it was like to build this and wrap it versus paint. Like, as far as, you know, talk to me about what it was like for you to do it. Any recommendations for other people wanting to do it? Like, what is the process as far as you want to build a car, a wide body car, an RWB or Pandem or Liberty Walk? You know, what is it like to do it and do it with wrap versus paint? Kind of pros and cons.
All right. So I think I'll start with the build process. So what it was like to build it. That process was quite tricky. It was very tricky, actually, because obviously we have the car and then we have the kit, and the kit needs to be test fitted, the kit needs to be prepped, the kit needs to be wrapped, but then the car has to be getting wrapped, and then it has to be put back together. And it's just, you know, it was a lot of parts moving back and forth between LTMW and Impressive Wrap. Thankfully, they're about 20 minutes apart. So, and then also here, our training facility, we're all kind of within 20 to 30 minutes of each other. So, I mean, that made it easy, but easier. But it's just, the kit arrived like a month and a half before SEMA, and over at LTMW, there was a whole bunch of other builds getting put together. Like even the first LB Silhouette Aventador was getting built there, and a bunch of other wild cars. I think like probably at least 15 or 20 cars were getting built for SEMA. And so just once the kit landed, just to get this one slotted in there was tricky in itself. But we test fitted the kit first and foremost. The day we unopened the box and started pulling all the panels out, we started slapping them on the car, just making obviously your templates and figuring out how everything's going to go. And that was where I really got to start, to really see what the car was going to look like. And it blew my mind, even though it was all janky and a bunch of different colors and stuff. But then after that, I think after that, I think a week later they cut the fenders, because I remember we went back and shot a marketing video around that, which I think I sent you as well.
Yeah.
But we started to cut the fenders. Then I had to drive this nasty looking 911 with cut fenders and wheel gap that I could literally almost put my head through. I had to drive it about 20 minutes back down the road to Impressive Wrap, and then they started wrapping the the vehicle.
No going back
and
now, buddy.
LTMW did some minor prep on the panels, but the RWB kit, I mean, I don't know if this rings true for all of the other kits for the air-cooled Porsches, but the kit for this car was one of the best kits I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, the Liberty Walk stuff is very good. The Rocket Bunny, you know, the tandem stuff is great. But, you know, with, like, for example, the Liberty Walk NSX that was here a couple weeks ago, once we lay the vinyl over those panels, you can see some slight waviness to it. It's, you know, it's not horrible, but you can definitely tell that it's, you know, it's not 100% smooth.
Right.
These panels required minimal, very, very minimal body work, or, you know, prep work, I should say. They're amazing. They have less texture in them than even my OEM Porsche could. You know, the paint. And so I don't know how he does it, how Nakai does it, but this stuff is top notch. And but we
can I ask you a question real quick? I'm sorry. Is this kit polyurethane or is it fiberglass?
To my knowledge, it's fiberglass.
Okay.
Everything looked like fiberglass, you know, underneath, and the way it feels, how rigid it is and stuff. I mean, there's no flex to any of the panels really, or very little.
That's what I thought. I just haven't seen one.
Yeah, I'm positive it's fiberglass. So
okay.
But just amazing quality. But yeah, so we, you know, prepped the panels a little bit, picked them all up from LTMW, took the panels over to Impressive Wrap as well, started wrapping all the panels, and then had to transport the car and the kit back to LTMW at some point to get assembled. And this is really the scary part, because you're transporting all of these wrapped pieces, you know, the over fenders, the rear bumper, the wing, and you're just hoping that nothing gets damaged either through transport or through, you know, reassembly. And I think we're about a week and a half out now at this point to SEMA. And so yeah, things were getting nuts, and obviously the wheels weren't even done yet. It was pretty wild, but it all came together, and it came together amazingly well. But for somebody out there looking to do this and, you know, following the same, you know, process, I don't know. I think if you're not building it for an event like SEMA and you don't have a huge time crunch, and you're deciding to commission the build yourself and you're not having Nakai build it, then yeah, it's probably not going to be that bad. You can wrap the panels, you can wrap the car, you can take your time and put it back together, you know, as you wish and stuff. But if Nakai is coming out and building the car, which I really wish he could have built this one, but if you're having Nakai build yours, I think it's going to be a little trickier, and I think it's because I remember you mentioned to me that he only really stays out here for like a couple days.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, you would have to have everything like done ahead of time, like even something as simple as like the cutting of the fenders and some of the work that you have to do to the car itself. I think you might actually have to do that ahead of time, so the whole car can be wrapped and prepped for him to literally just drill his holes and pop the panels on. But it's really tricky. It's like you either wrap the car in a day while he's here or you have to do a lot of prep work. You know, so, and I think he cuts the fenders right on every car.
That's right.
So yeah, there's just certain things that I feel like certain things that might pose some challenges. I don't think it's impossible,
but the wrap would like peel, right? Like if I wrapped my fender, the inner fender, like the standard car fender, cut it to put on the RWB fender, how well would that adhere? Would it start to peel up, or would the bolts coming through the fenders actually hold it in place?
I mean, yeah, the thing is, like, let's say you wrapped the stock fenders all the way under and then you start to cut, you know, through the vinyl. It's just, it'll probably start to shred pieces of the vinyl and rip it up a little bit. So, you know, it might not have, you know, a good, I guess, it might not be adhering the best it should. But again, I mean, I'm sure you could probably even just, if you knew where Nakai was going to cut, you could probably wrap the car down to that point and just stop, and then, you know, post heat the film, make sure it's really in place, and then he could just cut right below where it's wrapped. So again, I'm sure it's not impossible. It can be done.
Yeah.
But there would have to be more thought put into put into it, just so once the fenders go on, you don't have to redo anything, because once that silicone is in place and stuff, you really don't want to have to redo anything on this car.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like out of all the cars we've built and wrapped for various events and, you know, marketing things, like this is the one that I take care of the most, hands down, just because it's the hardest one to redo anything on.
Yeah.
So
and then what are your thoughts on like PPF or double wrapping the front, or what would you do there?
So with vinyl, you don't want to just PPF the front of the car. Reason being, it'll cause different rates of fading over time. So like, let's say after a year, 2 years, if it's only the front clip, then the back half of the car is going to potentially be fading faster than the material up front. So you might get two different tones. And again, this is with any vinyl, just because the sun is really, vinyl's worst friend over time. But if you PPF the whole car, then you're golden. But that's really for somebody who's going to keep the wrap on long term, like, years potentially. This, I'm pretty sure this color is going to be gone within the next 12 months. It will change to a different color. As much as I love this color, honestly, like I could probably keep this color on for the amount of time I own the car, just forever.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. I should change it. If we have a hot new color coming out, I might swap it out. But I think I'll keep it at least until SEMA. So, but that's why I wouldn't PPF it, just because it doesn't make sense. But it is ceramic coated. That's my way of kind of
doing what you can. Yeah,
doing what I can to make the upkeep, the general maintenance a little bit easier, and just to protect the wrap, and it also enhances the gloss even more. So
yeah, I mean, from here it looks great. I'm sure it looks even better, in person. In fact, it does, because I've seen it and I've been through your car, so it does look really great.
A little dirty right now, but we'll take care of that probably this afternoon.
Yeah, that's fair. I probably need to go wash one of my cars here this afternoon too. Talk to me maybe a little bit about, we talked about this last time a little bit, some of the things that you kind of think about, going forward. Now, you had mentioned, for example, more parts will come out for this car. Nakai will start to travel again, that kind of stuff. What are some of the things that you'd like to see as far as interacting with Nakai, letting him see the car, letting him, potentially even maybe name the car? We got to get the Toyo Tires sponsorship decal off and the Rawwell on, and but at the same time, it's not. I'm sure Toyo Tires, those guys have been great to you, probably, and. I mean, the look on your face, maybe I'll never get that off your windshield.
No, trust me. I love you, Toyo. Thank you for getting the R888Rs out in time for SEMA, because I really think this car needs 888s on it. They just look really cool at the same time as well. But I want to get that banner off. I've been meaning to swap it out for the raw welt banner for the past few weeks. I talked to my buddy over at Impressive, and I'm like, hey, can we get the banner changed out? And then something comes up, either the car goes down, or I don't know, or just work gets in the way. Those guys have been really busy. They had a Regera over there and a Mansory Veyron. So they've been busy with some pretty big projects, but it will be getting swapped out soon. I feel like that's a nice finishing touch. But yeah, moving forward, I would love to have Nakai do something to the car. I think, like I mentioned to you last time, whether there's new parts coming out and he can somehow come out here and install those new pieces, or if it's not new pieces, I was even thinking of some wild thing, can he literally just like, I guess, refine the kit in some way? Like, let's say I take all the panels off. Can he put the car back together to his liking, to his, I guess, using his eyes? And I don't know. I want to have him do something to the car. And obviously naming it is a huge step. That's why some people are like, oh, have you named your car? Hell no. I'm not naming this thing. Like, that's something that I want Nakai to do at some point.
Yeah.
I want him to come out here and drive it and let all the sensations kind of run through him and let him just kind of feel what he feels. And then I'm sure a name will come to him. So that's the plan. And then I feel like that would be a nice finishing touch for the car, just to have him do something to the vehicle.
Yeah.
Totally. But beyond that, I need more power. I really need more power. People don't realize, some do, but I think a lot of people don't realize that, you look at the car and it looks like it can do some amazing things. It must be a monster. It must be rocking a turbocharged engine back there. A lot of people think this thing, it must be a GT3, right? And I'm like, no, it's just a Carrera S. So 350 some odd horsepower, and now you've widened it, you've put heavier wheels on it, and all these things. It actually slows the car down a little bit. And I feel like I want either a supercharger or to go 4-liter, although I finally got around to crunching some numbers on both of those routes, and I think the supercharger wins just from a cost perspective.
Sure.
As much as having an NA 4-liter would be amazing, I think the supercharger is going to be the way to go. And turbo, I think, is just too finicky for my liking, at least for this engine. I don't know. If I had like a 991 or a 992, then yeah, I'll just deal with the turbos and love every second of it. But I think supercharger, especially the VF engineering, fits nice and snug in that rear engine compartment.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. A lot of plans, but what's going to happen, I don't know. I even want to get some seats in here, the stock seats. People are bitching and moaning to me saying, hey, you need Recaros in there or something. And I'm like, I know, but these things are so comfortable and the seats are in such good condition. Thank you to the previous owner. But I think some Recaros at some point probably find their way into the car.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's what's cool about these cars, kind of based on what you said at the very start about going to Cars and Coffee and 1,720s and whatever else. What's cool about these is you build it to the spec you want and you can continue to build it. And it's kind of like one of the only cars that I've ever seen that the more modified they are, you get more money out of them. Where other cars, the more modified they are, the less they're worth. Oh yeah, dude. It's crazy. I mean, some of the offers I got at SEMA were wild. I could have, I'm just telling you, I could have literally sold the car with only driving it 15 minutes and I would have definitely walked away with some nice equity. Like, it's crazy. I really want to drive the car more than 15 minutes from LTMW onto a flatbed, onto a Las Vegas
trailer into Las Vegas. But then a second and third person, asked me if I would sell it. And then Sven contacted me, like I told you, and said, hey, somebody wants to buy your car. And I'm still getting DMs to this day asking if I would sell the car, how much, this and that. And I don't know. It's funny. After that one guy committed to that price at SEMA, he said, okay, I instantly added like 20,000, 30,000 on top of that number. And I said, okay, you know what? That's a number I would sell it for and just build another one. But I don't want to sell it. It's interesting though, right? Most everybody who I talk to, even in a lot of these interviews, they've sold their cars and I ask them why. And it's like, well, you're not planning on it. And then somebody just brings you a number that you can't say no to and it happens. And I just want to congratulate you for being one of the strong ones. Yeah. But definitely this one, I don't want to sell it. I know at some point there'll probably be just an offer that you can't say no to. And I think we all, even if we get emotionally attached to our cars, there's always that number that will make us consider and go, okay. Yeah. Maybe I should, but so far I have not had that number thrown at me to make me say, bye-bye RWB. Well, I'm proud of you. I mean, even like my car, I don't know.
I guess I've had one or two cars that we've taken all the way down to a rotisserie and like gone through them, but this is definitely the car that I have spent the most time and money on so far, and it still is not even like a built motor. The motor's still stock on mine, so I can't even believe where I'm at on my car, and the thought of even thinking about selling mine, just like I can't even fathom it. So I don't know, maybe one day, but maybe you and I can grow old together and have our RWBs will be like one of the only original owners left.
I know, we'll be like, man, back in our day.
Yeah.
Just looking in our garage and still got them. So I honestly could see myself keeping this car forever. Honestly, I think what I've seen it do for the business and also just for myself, like it really has felt like a marketing tool on a personal level too, just going out there and it's so recognizable, and people are now, they're like, oh, it's Greg from Inozetek. Like they know the car now, and they also know me. And I think like from a career standpoint, I see this car kind of, things were good before, but I see it really just adding so much in so many ways and helping, kind of snowball other aspects of what I do. And so I don't want to let it go. I think it's gonna, I don't know, it's made some big changes already, and I think it's going to help facilitate more growth.
I think that's awesome. Well, last question, I know we're kind of running on time. I'm curious if since it's been done, have you talked to Nakai at all? Like, has he seen it? Have you ever had any kind of response at all from him, even through Long or through anyone else? Like, have you ever had anything from him where you're like, oh, cool?
No, actually. So I have no direct contact with Nakai or I think Toshi or any of them. Like I don't know any of those guys. And even getting the kit, I didn't do any of the reaching out to them at all. Like I was busy, obviously, with getting a bunch of new product releases for SEMA and getting all the SEMA stuff ready. So Long helped me with all that. And so that's why I'm very, very thankful to him for just facilitating getting the kit here and just interacting with them and stuff. But no, I have not. I don't even know what Nakai thinks of this one. I don't know.
He might hate it,
but it's definitely on my mind. I know he might. Honestly, I thought about that. I'm like, what if he hates this one? Like,
it's like the one he hated. No, I'm sure he loves it. I'm sure he's seen it. I'm sure he's loved it. He's probably sitting in Japan going, this Greg is so hard to get a hold of. I don't know how I could ever tell him. Like, I want to talk to this guy, tell him what I think.
Look, if somebody out there can find out what he thinks of the car, ask him or something and let me know. I would love to know, because I don't know. I saw there was another one, I think a GT3 or something that he just finished up in his shop, and it was also green with like some gold BBSs, or I think it was gold LMs. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I wonder if the green was inspired by this at all, even though it's a different shade of green. But I'm like, nah, maybe not, who knows. But but I would really love to know what he thinks, for sure. So my inquisitive mind.
Well, no, I really appreciate you taking the time again with me. I do want to come down, even though I didn't come down to do this interview. I am going to come down and film your car one of these days and have you like take me around in it, and we can do like a deep dive. I'm going to get to your car before Larry Chen does, unless he already has. So
nope. Larry has not gotten to the car.
Okay. So. Well, before they do an autofocus on it, I'm going to do a focus on it.
Perfect. Maybe. Well, I would love to have you out here. Hopefully the car's a little louder when that time comes. The Armatrix exhaust is cool, but I'm still going to keep the mufflers, but I think I want to tinker with other parts of the exhaust to make it louder, so it's more race car once I take you out for a spin in the vehicle.
I like it. I think, keep in mind too, and this is how I've been building, like this is the first car that when I build it, it's not what's the biggest ROI, like will I ever get my money out of that part, or will I ever whatever. Whenever on this Porsche, as I built it, it's been like, well, I'm keeping the car forever anyway, so why wouldn't I buy the best version of that part? Or why wouldn't I need 3 sets of wheels, or why, like whatever. So I keep spending on my car, like I'm keeping it forever. And so
Yeah.
I probably, even if I got a high offer on my car, wouldn't get my money out of it when I'm done, is my guess. But I think my advice to you is just keep spending like I've been spending. Like, just treat it like you're keeping the car forever.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, yeah, we're not focused really on ROI, like you said, but thankfully, this community does seem to value the time and effort you put into the cars and what you spend. Like, you know, if you put high quality parts into it, it does seem like like you said, it adds value to the vehicle. Yeah. Unlike some other scenes I've been in where you can throw everything at a car and the person will still come to you and say, "Hey, I'll give you the price of the car. That's it."
Yeah.
You know, so, but it doesn't seem like that's the case with these things, and also with yours. So it's nice. Well, but own it forever, keep it forever. You know, definitely build it to your dream spec. You know, I think that's the goal.
Totally. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on here with me and answer these questions. And
thanks for having me, man.
No, I was just going to say, if anybody, you know, wants to get on there, I'm going to go ahead and post up Greg's. I'll put up the Inozetek Instagram here. I'll also put your Instagram so you can continue to become a social media just mogul. Just keep smashing everyone.
Oh boy.
No,
that's funny. Yeah. It's funny because like that's not even the goal. Like I didn't plan on growing my page, but man, since SEMA, it's like I think I started SEMA with like 1,000 followers on my Inozetek page, and like now I'm like almost pushing 5K in such a short period of time, and I was like, damn, not expecting that. The DMs are flooded.
Yeah, I was lucky to get a hold of you.
Hey, that's funny. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you having me on here. And you know, even though I know this is our second time doing it, it's a blast both times. So
well, thank you. Hopefully it was easy for you.
Yeah, it was nothing. Cakewalk. No, I'm just kidding.
Cool. All right.
All is good.
Thank you, sir.
No problem, man. Thank you as well. And yeah, have a great rest of your day, and look forward to seeing the video when it's all done.